Awesome. So, hi everyone. Welcome to CherryMinds Open House for 12th June 2022. So, how's everybody doing?
Amazing.
Awesome.
That's really good to hear. Did you remember what discussions we had last time? I mean, anything? Anybody
Neuroscience.
remembers?
Something about the brain and how it changes.
So, we're talking about that misconception that we had earlier that brain is gets fixed after adulthood and it does not change, but now we have technologies and that proves that brain is changing all the time, and that phenomenon is called neuroplasticity. We are going to touch up that again. So today, I mean, we wanted to, as discussed last time, we wanted to take a deeper look at what mindfulness really is, because I don't think there's a general awareness about it. Those who know about mindfulness know it slightly. It's about being in the present moment and stuff like that. But let's try to deep dive into that today and understand that from a context. How does that sound?
Sounds
Sounds
good.
good.
ठीक है. Any other things that you guys did this week or face some challenges that you want to share before starting, maybe?
I had a very stressful week, Nasir, because I
Okay.
had two interviews and a lot of work, and then a lot of personal stuff was also bothering me. So it was very difficult.
Hmm.
But once the weekend came, I was thoda sa relaxed.
Okay. Let us see. I mean, if we talk and understand mindfulness today, let us see. I mean, after a discussion, that if we can help you, if mindfulness could have helped you deal with this stressful week of yours.
Cool.
Sure, ठीक है. So just let me share my screen. Yeah, can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Yeah, it's really sad that I cannot see your faces, so it's very difficult for me to understand if you're grasping things or not, or you're finding it interesting. Is there a way, Jay, we can help with this?
Can you see now?
Hello? No.
I think you won't be able to see our faces once when you're presenting.
That's sad. Anyway, I hope you're able to see my screen.
Yeah.
Yes, we feel that.
ठीक है. Sure. Just keep me in the audio loop, and then I think it should be good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. So, guys, we are going to have a very crisp presentation today, and deep diving into mindfulness need not be really complicated. So we'll keep it simple. We'll have three topics, and we'll have three takeaways from those topics. Does it sound good?
Yeah.
Awesome. I really had to Google how to add GIFs into presentations, so I hope you liked
This is cool.
it. ठीक है. So, guys, first of all, I mean, the first topic is nature of our minds from an evolutionary perspective. So, I feel the reason that it's very important to talk about this is because Cherry Minds is all about having a healthy relationship with your own mind. Okay. And if you're talking about mind or brain as an organ, okay, we, in order to understand anything, we need to look at its history, right? And brain is no different. So that's what we are going to do today. We are going to understand some of the nature or behavior of our minds from an evolutionary perspective. How does that sound?
Interesting.
Interesting.
It's really cool. We are all sync here, saying the same
Yes.
adjective. So awesome. Okay, so just let me, read out an excerpt which reveals a lot about ourselves. In the sense, as you can clearly see, the paragraph claims that we are descendants of frightened people. Okay, so obviously, if you look at from the perspective of let's say humanity started, we evolved from chimpanzees, apes, and then today we our species is called as Homo sapiens. So, will the most frightened people survive? What is your opinion, first of all? Can I have some opinions here?
I think, in my perspective, yes, I think.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I think frightened people will try to find all ways to protect themselves,
Hmm,
isn't it?
hmm, hmm. Correct, correct. So we are understanding the evolution of our organ here, okay? And uh, in times where our let us take the example of our ancestors, okay? So when they were in those ancestors who were really um, aware and cautious about the dangers around them were the ones who actually were able to survive. And if they survived, they actually pass their genes to the future human generation. And that's how, from generation to generation, we became more frightened over time. So the amygdala is a part of the brain which is responsible for fear. Okay, so generation after generation of humans, that organ became more stimulated, because otherwise, let's take other scenarios. Our ancestors whose amygdala were was not that active, right? On the second paragraph, it says early humans who were just too calm to worry about probably got eaten by a lion. Okay, so they did not survive, and that's the reason they were not able to pass their genes and uh, continue their lineage forward. So natural selection itself favored those humans who were more frightened, and because they were more frightened, they were more prepared and lived long enough to replicate and pass on their genes to their descendants.
Got it. So basically, you are saying people who were scared, they found ways to fight whatever danger, and hence they survived.
Correct, correct. Being frightened was one of the factors that helped them survive, right?
Hmm.
So if their brain, and to be very specific, the amygdala, which is a very crucial part of the brain, if that wasn't active enough, they wouldn't have been able to prepare for maybe a lion pouncing on them or a predator eating them, right? And if they were not able to predict that and prepare for that, they wouldn't survive.
Hmm.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Absolutely, it's conditioned response.
Correct, correct. So the reason to it's very important to talk about this is that um, you are not alone. If you are feeling that you are being anxious all the time or you are being cautious all the time, it's not you. It's not a special problem that you have, but from an evolutionary perspective, our brains, your ancestors' brains were designed to be more cautious, were designed to be more
Yeah,
frightful, fearful.
yeah. So that's how we're built.
Exactly, exactly. So that this was one of the perspective that I really wanted to share, that we are descendants of frightened people. So we are more frightened, more cautious, more worrying than our parents. So that's the logic out here I wanted to share. ठीक है. Let's go ahead, and I want to share another perspective of the evolution of our beautiful organ that we call brain. ठीक है. So let me first read the fact for you. Okay, this means that humans have spent more than 99% of their evolutionary history in the hunter gatherer environment. If we compress 4 million years into 24 hours, and if the history of humans begin at midnight, agriculture made its appearance on the scene 23 hours 55 minutes later. Can
So
anybody help me decipher this and make sense out of this?
what I can understand is majority of time when we were evolving, we were hunterers or gatherers, right?
Correct.
And later on, we develop technology and all.
Correct, correct. So if you see the scale here, Big Bang, as you know, is what we called when Earth came into existence, right? And how the life evolution started. If that was this point, and on the right hand side, it's the current movement, 2022. Then if we just want to make sense of these 4 million years, okay, if we compress them into 24 hours, okay, then history of humans begins at midnight. So almost when the clock is about to strike 12 in the midnight, that's when humans history of humans began. Okay. And even then, majority of the time, 99% of that time, we were in a hunter-gatherer environment. So we did not have all these fancy stuff that we have today, the civilization, the sanitation that we have, or the electricity that we have, etc. Your brain, understand from this perspective, your organ, the brain, has spent majority of its evolution time in a hunter-gatherer environment.
Where danger can come anytime.
Exactly, it needed to be prepared. I think now you are able to connect the dots, which I said before also, that it is designed to be more cautionary because it has spent more time. Okay. So compare your lifetime to the whole evolution of the organ of the brain, then you will be able to understand more about why is it behaving the way it behaves.
Makes sense.
Absolutely, this puts the mind into, helps me understand the mind in a context, like instead of
Exactly.
isolating. Yeah. So
Exactly.
I can be more compassionate probably towards myself when I'm understanding my instinctual brain or evolutionary brain.
Correct. Correct. The whole exercise behind these me sharing these two facts is that um like it's like getting a rescued dog. Okay, a rescued dog will behave according to its past, like whatever it has faced, or how the owner behaved with it previously, right? You should see your mind also, or your brain also, as something which is you have inherited from your ancestors.
Which is a part of our nervous system, and I think body also plays a very big role in this evolution.
Exactly,
Body
exactly.
in connection with our mind. I feel, see, I don't know about the rescue dog philosophy, or the
I
analogy,
was trying to give an
but
analogy, yeah.
yeah, but the thing is, every person and we go through trauma in different ways or the other, right? So I
Hmm.
think all of us have gone through some or the other trauma in life, and we all react from that perspective, and that also is wired in a way of evolution. So your
Yeah,
HV
yeah.
axis, your fight, flight, freeze response, it's kind of
Hmm.
wired in what Faiz was saying, that if you have to put it in timeline, you'll have to understand that you've spent majority of your human survival
Existence.
in,
Yeah.
yeah, hunter gatherer ways of fighting with the
Ha
stress.
ha.
So the world around you may be like civilized and stuff, but pretty much you are dealing with your problems in a very nomadic way.
Exactly. The civilization is only a recent phenomena. If you put that in perspective of the whole evolution of organ, then we have majority time where we have spent, right? Cool, cool. So let me share the screen again. Yes, can you see my screen?
Yep.
Yeah.
ठीक है. So these are some of the adjectives that our mind were designed to be. Designed, or more like evolutionary engineered. Okay, so let me just take few of the words and help you make sense out of it. We already discussed the first one. Why are we more anxious than our previous generation? So does that make sense?
It
Yeah,
does.
yeah.
Okay. Second adjective that I would like to talk about here is negativity bias. Okay, now what is negativity bias? uh, Humans have been able to survive because of our amazing ability to predict or simulate possible scenarios of the future. Okay, so we try to imagine what things could happen in the future and prepare for them now. That's the special ability that has helped us to be the most apex species of the earth, right? But at the same time, we pay much more attention to the worst case scenario possible. And that's what I mean by negativity bias. Our minds are designed to take the worst case scenario and prepare for that, right? So our minds inherently have a negatively biased,
Absolutely.
right? So one of the examples that can anybody help me with some examples here?
So if I go to the job tomorrow and there's a appraisal meeting, and I'm supposed to get like a feedback from my manager, uh, uh, so the manager is obviously going to first start with two subtle points or two nicer points, and then they're
Correct.
going to move on to being critical, like
Mm-hmm.
saying a
Mm-hmm.
little what. But what's going to stick is, I'm not going to sit there and appreciate, oh wait, let me sit and celebrate my growth in these two areas, probably this is what genuinely he means. We kind of see
Mm-hmm.
it as a ठीक है यार कोई बात नहीं बोल दिया ना, बट अब मुझे
Mm-hmm.
इस पे फोकस करना है, सो वी डोंट टेक अ point in time, a moment wherein we scan the good thing first. Immediately our
Mm-hmm.
attention goes towards the negative
Mm-hmm.
set of information, ignoring
Mm-hmm.
the positive set of information.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, exactly. And I mean, in fact, in our culture also, in Indian culture also, we have been like trained to prepare for the worst case scenario. So we automatically, whenever we are in an uncertain situation of which we don't know the result, it's very difficult for us to be positive about it. It's more easier to just imagine the most negative scenario, the worst case scenario, and then keep that as a benchmark. What do you think?
Absolutely, because evolutionary, right? If we are surviving at a hunter gatherer level, I
Mm-hmm.
think if I am constantly, it was important for me to look through negative. So
Correct.
if I'm gone hunting, which is my everyday
Correct.
activity, essential survival. If there is no noise behind the bushes, I can't be completely positive about it and be like, chill,
Correct.
relax,
Correct.
let's take a deep breath. Whatever happens, if nahi, to wo thoda, they had to run. So that's how,
Yeah.
they had, in order to survive those certain environments, they had to constantly fight. So our
Yeah.
nervous system has learned to fight stress now already, which is
Yes.
not probably working in our today's environment in the context that we are in.
But we are trained that if we see the movement in those, if we see any movement in those bushes, we have to imagine. Our brain is designed to imagine that the worst possible scenario is the lion, and I could be eaten by it, so I need to prepare for it. So that's how evolutionary our brain has been trained to always think of the worst case scenario, right?
It's important. That's how
Hmm.
the we are today on the earth.
Exactly, exactly.
Because
It's
our
important.
ancestors did
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Correct, correct. So that's the reason we are trying to understand and make more sense of our mind's behavior, and we just took a historic perspective of it and realized that negative bias is something that we have been evolutionary given as a gift. It's not something that is a problem with one particular person.
In fact, I think it's a gift because it's this is the in psychology, this is a very instinctual part of who you are, the innate survival mechanism that you have.
Hmm, hmm,
The
hmm, hmm.
instinctual part of you is what people call this intuitive knowledge or inner judgment. And I
Hmm.
think if that is something you start understanding, you will be able to work on it much better. And it's the most highest form of intelligence, the intuitive one, I feel.
Hmm, hmm, hmm,
The
hmm.
lower part of our brain.
Exactly, exactly. And I think like other thing which is in continuation also is we all have overthinking and worrying brain, which is an offshoot of negatively biased only. Okay, if you are preparing for a worst case scenario, we are obviously overthinking and worrying about all the solution we might prepare, And in today's day and age, there are so many variables outside of our control, but still our mind is trying to make sense out of it, right? It's actually trying to create a scenario where we escape from that lion in the bush, so called.
I think back then the dangers were also very defined. Like you have to survive or you'll die. Somebody will attack you or you'll die. Today we don't have that kind of threats, but there are other threats that we feel will harm us.
It is no point in comparing, in the sense ki we have already inherited that thing to our present moment. Now it should not be bothering us, right? It helps us survive and we exist right now, but that shouldn't be the one that's bothering us, right?
Hmm.
One Another aspect that I wanted to talk about, that our minds are designed to be judgmental. Okay, and let me give you one other perspective from an evolutionary biology, view. So when humans were evolving and we started to form tribes, right? That's when it was very important that if you see a stranger, you should be able to categorize them if it's a friend or an enemy. Okay, so it was in favor of every human being to be able to quickly judge. That's the reason we developed heuristics is just a rule of thumb that if the person looks good, uh, he is assumed to be smarter, or he is assumed to be a better mate or something like that. So my point being is, our brains from an evolutionary perspective were designed to be judgmental. So today it's very difficult for us to practice non-judgment. What do you guys think?
I think cognitive skills play a very important role personally for what I feel is, and if we are anyway biased, as in in psychological sense, if we are anyway biased, I think bias is something which is very common to all of us on an everyday basis. It's not something that you can completely get away with. You understanding, it's like an adaptation. You'll have to constantly adapt to the newer biases that come in. So I think in that perspective, of course, non-judgmentalism is one of the tools that you can use for better decision making, which is a cognitive skill.
Hmm. But you have observed, if you have sometimes observed your own mind, when you are in a new place and you see a stranger, automatically your mind tries to categorize it if it's he's good or bad,
But
right?
it's bound to
So,
happen. Yeah.
exactly. That's what I'm saying. Our minds, from an evolutionary perspective, are designed to be judgmental, right? So the whole point here, what we are discussing, is that why does our mind behave, the way it does, but from a perspective of evolution.
Yeah, makes sense.
Cool, cool. So I think we have a fair understanding of how our brains evolved, how much time we have spent in hunter gatherer context, and that's the reason why all these adjectives are part of the feature of our brain's behavior today, even today. So continuing from that, the second topic that I would like to discuss is neuroplasticity. I We touched upon it in our last open house also, but I would like to continue. By the way, do you guys know which movie is this guy from? Because I've seen a lot of this meme many a time, but I don't know which movie is this from.
No clue.
Okay, cool. Um, so just taking the neuro definition of neuroplasticity and uh, trying to decode it. Google says neuroplasticity is the ability of the brain to form and recognize synaptic connections, especially in response to learning or experience or following injury. So I think this is slightly technical. So did it just make sense to you, for a person who does not have a biology background or something, background in psychology? Does it make sense to you?
I remember I've studied this much
Okay.
biology at least, that In the brain, the neurons connect with each other through synapses and
Mm-hmm.
connections.
Mm-hmm.
So, what you are saying is that our brain can rewire, like connect,
Hmm.
reorganize those connections, right? I think it
Hmm.
makes
Hmm.
sense from what we discussed last week also. If we
Hmm.
develop new habits, we become better at it. So that means
Correct.
that it gets connected in the brain also, right?
Correct, correct. So, like for the people who don't understand or don't have a background in biology, synaptic connections are basically connection between the brain cells. If I have to be very simple about it, okay. So, the ability of the brain, your organ, to form, create new, or reorganize synaptic connections, basically connection between the brain cells, especially in response to learning or experience, learning and experience, which I think continues for a lifetime, or following injury. That is also the new discovery, and that's the reason the line below says the neuroplasticity offers real hope to everyone from stroke victims to dyslexics. So this is based on the premise that our brain is continuously being reshaped, either when we learn or we experience some significant events in our lives. So the ability of a brain to form and reorganize those brain cells is neuroplasticity.
Cool.
Okay. So I think, I mean, it would be great if you guys could, Ija, can you help me with some examples of what do you think where neuroplasticity can be observed?
I think when we learn something new, like I gave an example last time that I learned
Mm-hmm.
new tools at my workplace, and
Mm-hmm.
now I'm like very fluent with it. Start in the starting when I was learning those
Mm-hmm.
tools, I used to like I
Mm-hmm.
had to check what button I'm pressing and all of that. Now it comes naturally to me. I can just do it in a flow and I don't have to think twice.
Exactly, exactly. So the reason you are able to do it in a flow is because that rewiring, the reshaping of your brain is completed now. And now that ability of
Hmm.
yours is on a subconscious level.
Yeah, so I kept
Yeah.
doing it, so I got better. And I think in layman language, that's what we say, that practice makes you better. So
Yeah.
in neurological terms, does it make sense? Like practice makes us better and brain rewires. Like it's the same thing, right?
Exactly, exactly. So, one of the buzzwords these days is upskilling. Learning a new skill so that you can get a better job or get a pay hike. Okay. So, all these upskilling that you're doing, teaching yourself new things, such as programming or, financial analysis or something like that, that's also leads to neuroplasticity, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Then, doing arithmetic, doing math is something that you're teaching yourself. So that also reshapes your brain. Learning new languages have been proven to cause neuroplasticity. Okay. And musicians who practice playing the same note or the same music again and again, they have like studies, fMRI studies have proved that they have a change in their cortex is basically a part of the brain which occupies majority of the volume. So all these learnings that you do throughout your lifetime, be it learning a new language or learning, upskilling yourself or teaching yourself anything new, that causes changes in your brain, right? So then the question comes, can the brain be trained for being fit? If the brain can be trained and it is changing throughout the lifetime, question comes, can the brain be also be rewired or changed for fitness? And that's where mindfulness comes in. So
Nice.
yeah. So can anybody, I mean, because mindfulness is a very complex topic that is difficult to say in words, to be honest. So I've tried to represent it in a visual form. So can anybody help me, guess what are they saying? Help me make sense out of it. How do you make it?
I would like to know Ajaya's perspective on it.
Basically, you want me to say what is the meaning of this image or what I think it is.
Yes, exactly. Whatever you find, how are you making sense out of this?
It looks like um, the bulb, the lamp on the top is seeing the other lamp, like it's watching it.
Okay, okay. And like, how is that related to your mind? But
I think I have heard about my meditation at least that when you like meditate, you have to
mm-hmm.
focus, like you have to watch your breath or
Mm-hmm,
something
mm-hmm.
in your body. So is it probably related to that?
Okay, so first you said it's like a bulb on another light, and then you said that meditation involves focusing on breathing. How are they two related?
No, no, I'm saying I thought that the lamp on the top is watching the other lamp.
Okay, so you mean like while meditating, you watch on your breath. So this the upper lamp is watching the light below. Is it what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay,
So
okay. That's
Iram's here.
oh wow, what a timing. Hi, Ram.
Everyone, hi. I am not prepared, so
It's okay. It's
It's
okay.
an
It's an
open
open
discussion.
house. Yeah, it's an open house. We're not. We are not prepared.
okay, cool, cool. Yeah,
Okay. So,
Acha.
I mean, yeah, just we are having a discussion on this funny image that I have presented on the screen.
yeah. I
I,
recognize the image.
you recognize it. I mean, so can you help us make sense out of it?
Okay, so the way I'll interpret it the same way as I did the first time I saw it.
Mm-hmm.
I think this picture very aptly depicts what mindfulness is about. It
Mm-hmm.
is throwing light on the light source. Like, so we have two light sources, and we are, so if we, the analogy here can be made with the first lamp, like the one with the manual string.
Okay. You can
Uh,
just can call it blue or orange.
yeah, sure, of course. So the orange, if clearly I need mindfulness. So the orange lamp is probably our brain, and
Mm-hmm.
what we are doing in mindfulness is we are actually throwing
Mm-hmm.
light on the brain, like
Okay. Okay.
I
Okay.
mean, exercising using our brain to enhance our brain, I guess.
That's really complicated. Can you simplify it for us a bit?
So I guess it's where did the picture go? Where did the picture go? Okay. So I guess simplification is like, I mean, um whenever you are thinking about something important, where suppose for example I was studying, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I have 19 subjects to revise in a very
Mm-hmm.
short period of time. So what I do is highlight the important stuff, right? So in our lives, usually we are focusing on highlighting the important stuff, like job, career, and like relationships and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't, so the light source, I mean the highlighter, basically what we are using to highlight all these
Mm-hmm.
supposedly important things, is our brain, right? But we don't think about highlighting our brain, like giving it time, giving it space, giving it just an open chance to be itself. We never think
Mm-hmm.
about that. So the idea of this picture is to highlight the highlighter, to sharpen it, or like to enhance it, to rectify it, so that other
Mm-hmm.
aspects of its job, like of our brain, other aspects, subsequently those things are clear. I mean, I don't know.
Okay,
I mean,
okay. Thank you for that. I think you converted one analogy to another analogy and then, try to make sense out of it. But yes, I think you are there 30, 40%. Let me,
okay.
So let me just help everyone make sense out of what we mean by this picture. Yeah. So the orange lamp that you have, that's the cognition. That's your cognition. Okay. Since after 8 years old, we start developing this cognition. And correct me if I'm wrong, Shreya, that the inner speech starts developing. We have all the repository of all the important experience that we have, the learnings that we do. Okay. So that's the orange lamp. That's the cognition. Okay. Mindfulness is being aware of that cognition. So it's like shining a light on whatever is going on in your mind. So mindfulness is about being aware about awareness. Okay.
Mhm.
And in, as you all know, there's a very famous company called as Meta right now. Okay. So technically, in technical terms, this is called metacognition. So the cognition you have, orange lamp, meta, taking a look above, on the top of it, like disassociated and shining a light on it. That's mindfulness. Is it making sense?
Sort of complicated, but got it, like little bit.
Okay. Okay. Happy to take any questions that you have in chair right now.
I got it, but like I think it's
Hmm.
complicated for our viewers.
Okay.
Uh, yeah.
So I agree with both Faiz and Iram. Let me kind of merge what both of them are trying to say over here.
Hmm.
So what Faiz is
Sure.
trying to say probably is that you're talking about being the observer to the observer, observing the observer. And what Iram is also kind of saying the very same thing. So what she's saying is metacognition involves meta is self, right? When you are, how often do you think about what you're thinking? Like I do it that very often, and I think all of us do that. Like when we are sitting in isolation, we're very often thinking about what am I doing? Wait, like so when you're studying, like what Iram does when she's studying in the middle of the reading, probably her mind takes off somewhere, and then probably if to her to get it back, she has to perform what is called as metacognition, which is she has to think about thinking, oh wait, so what I'm doing right now is I am reading this book and highlighting this. So what she's doing in a way is being aware that she's being aware, or probably
Correct.
being aware that she was not being aware. So it's like observing the observer.
Correct. Correct. So how technical papers or research paper put mindfulness is that mindfulness is the ability to increase or decrease the attention muscle that you have. To be very specific, neuroscientifically, those are the alpha rhythms. Okay. So it's the ability to have this knob in control as needed. Okay. It is a specific non-judgmental awareness of present moment stimuli without cognitive elaboration. Let's break it down. Specific non-judgmental awareness, right? We talked about judgment. Whenever you see a stranger, the judgment switch goes on, right? So mindfulness is specific non-judgmental awareness. Awareness, we know what awareness is, okay? Of present moment stimuli, whatever is being occurring right here in the moment in your present, without cognitive elaboration, without any thoughts in your mind, without any inner speech or inner discussion, without any cognitive elaboration. So, non judgmental awareness of present moment stimuli without cognitive elaboration.
Okay, so basically experiencing things that are happening right now and not like overthinking about it, I guess. And
Yes,
like
yes,
thinking "Okay, what will happen or this happened or
correct.
finding many meanings that we do normally.
Correct, correct. So, Ijay, I mean, here to help you make more sense out of it, I would like to ask this: that what are some of the activities in your daily life recently that you really enjoy doing?
Uh, Making art is
Making
one of the
art,
things I
like,
like.
do you draw or write? What is it?
I draw also and I do digital art also.
Okay, so what is the thing that you like? Can you be more specific? Can you help me imagine that?
So if I'm designing certain things,
Mm-hmm.
like I'm working on Photoshop, so
Mm-hmm.
I get very involved in it and I enjoy it and I don't like think about anything else.
Correct. 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 Iram, what is one of the activities that you really enjoy doing?
So I enjoy doing a lot of stuff, sometimes also studying. So she already spoke about art, so I'm not gonna go there. But like yesterday, I
Two people can enjoy the same activity. It's like
अच्छा
completely
ठीक है हाँ
normal.
ठीक हाँ तो आरटी बोल देती हूँ मैं नहीं मैं दोनों बोलूंगी तो आज मैं आई guess I'll speak about two things that I enjoy. So yesterday I was doing quality assessment of studies, right? So
Mm-hmm.
they were like a group of 23, 24 studies. We are including it in our systematic review, and we were doing quality assessment of those studies. And me and Shubham, he's a PhD from AIMS, he's currently working at Yale. So we both of us we were doing the quality assessment, and I absolutely have like I particularly remember this. I had no idea how much time I spent, like how I कि मेरा इतना सारा पढ़ने का बाकी है, and then I had a lot of other stuff too. And then from downstairs, like I'm at home, so downstairs my family was calling me for like come eat food, and it was already 9:45, and I was just doing quality assessment. So I had absolutely a wonderful time doing that. Also, while so for example, funny that Didya mentioned Photoshop. Whenever I am looking, I'm introduced to any new software, be it Photoshop or be it. Recently I started working on this a different software which is used to make thematic maps, which like a map of India is over there, and then on the basis of like sickle cell population, for example, it will have different colors in different regions. So these are called thematic maps. So I was trying to learn that software, and whenever I'm learning something completely new, like a completely new software, आई एम जस्ट सो मच इन्वॉल्व इन इट कि अच्छा इससे क्या होता है, अच्छा यहाँ से क्या होता है, ये ऐसे कैसे करेगा, ये ऐसे कैसे, एंड
Same,
लाइक
same.
completely like involved in it, and then again no perception of time at all. So I think that is what I think I enjoy. That is what enjoyment is for me as like
Mm-hmm. So
like
these
completely.
states, yes, these states that you mentioned, where you there's no sense of time. You are not thinking about anything else apart from the work that you do, or and really being in that in that activity is called as, technically it's called as the flow state.
Right,
Okay.
right.
Now let me share the screen and let me go back to the definition of mindfulness. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Yeah. So we are talking about flow state, right? So in flow state, you are non-judgmental. You are not having any discussion internally, or you are not making any judgments about uh, anything. You are just in that moment, in flow with the present moment stimuli, without any cognitive elaboration. So does that fit in this definition of mindfulness?
So, one thing that I would like to ask you,
Hmm.
how do you differentiate? So, mindfulness is being in the present,
Hmm.
right? But when I'm sometimes when I'm studying, so I'll give you another two examples. Sometimes when I'm studying,
Hmm.
I or the middle. So I was making a chart right now. It was an artwork, kind of like an artwork, but I was
Hmm.
using it to study. So
Hmm.
when I was studying, I was making the art. uh, Repeatedly, I was thinking to myself, ki, what am I doing? Will this be helpful? Will I ever come back to this? So I am there only, right? But I
Yeah.
am thinking about the future. I'm thinking about all of these things. I'm enjoying it, but still, I'm kind of like out, not completely in it. again, similar thoughts when I'm learning a new software, like I explained, I completely go engrossed in it. I still have those type of questions in my mind. But these times, this time the questions are, okay, what will this menu do, or how will I make this work, how will I make that work? So I'm still confused. Is that being in the flow similar to what mindfulness is? Because I have not achieved mindfulness. I don't think I've achieved mindfulness even for like more than 30 minutes or something like that. So
Mm-hmm.
help me decipher this.
Mm-hmm.
You got the question right, or do I need
Yeah.
to?
I understand the question. Basically, the thing is, Iram, that we all have experienced mindfulness. We all have experienced flow states. That's the reason I asked you guys, what is the activity that you really enjoy? Right
Okay.
now, as you know, mindfulness is also a cognitive skill. So imagine replicating that feeling that you have during the flow state and expanding it to all your waking hours.
Hmm.
We are telling you that it's possible because brain is being reshaped all the time, and if you have to reshape it for fitness, then you can achieve that flow state whenever you want on will.
Okay, okay. So
That's
that
what I'm
flow
saying.
state is same as mindfulness. It's like they are synonymous to each other. Flow is synonymous to mindfulness.
It's the result of being mindful. Flow is a result of being mindful.
Okay,
Mindfulness is the
okay.
whole the whole exercise of training your brain for fitness, you can say.
Right, 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 right. And I have one more question.
No,
Like,
Iram.
okay,
Can I answer that question?
Yeah,
So,
sure.
no.
sure, sure.
What when you're thinking about ki, will I be getting back to this or not? Is that mindfulness? No, that isn't mindfulness.
Right, right.
Mindfulness is basically when you train your brain that, see, listen, what's happening to Iram, the mind Iram and the body Iram right now is that in the mind she's thinking these thoughts which are which is happening to me right now, and my body is probably feeling restless because of it, right? That's
Right.
observing the observer. But mindfulness is really about choosing to take a different action. So, for example, coming back to the task that you're doing without feeling anxious,
Okay.
observing, choosing a different response, and coming back to the moment. So, one of the ways you can do that is by catching yourself and being present. So, mindfulness is like a tool in that sense.
Right, right. So it's okay if I like catch myself and like bring myself back, when these things, because if I could
Non
turn around.
judgmentally, very important.
हाँ,
Without
नॉन
judgment.
जजमेंटली, हाँ, वो तो बड़ा मुश्किल है. But if actually, if I turn this camera right now, I have a whiteboard sitting behind this, and the only thing that's written on the whiteboard is Iram, be here. So I have to constantly like look at the whiteboard and like bring myself back. And yeah, I feel guilty sometimes that कि क्यों नहीं हो रहा, concentration क्यों नहीं आ रहा, and maybe I'm judging myself, but
No, 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 you're a normal human being. It
yeah.
happens to all of us. Yeah.
Yeah, you missed the first part of the presentation where we're talking about how judgmental, being anxious is just a part and parcel of our brain development.
Right, right.
Cool. So just let me quickly. I'm at the end of my presentation, so just
Okay.
quickly let me close the loop here. Okay. So I hope you are able to see my screen, and
Yes.
I would really recommend to watch a video by Catherine Kerr. Okay. She Sorry about the background noise. She is a neuroscientist, and she at Brown University, and she's doing amazing work at the neuroscience behind mindfulness. How exactly is our brain being changed because of mindfulness? So I would highly recommend that you watch this video, and that's it. These are the three takeaways that we discussed. I hope this makes sense to you.
It does.
Got it. Yep.
Cool then. Um, so yes, that's all I had for today's open house. If you would like to discuss anything more, would love to.
I would like
And
to ask.
go for it. And check into then close the open house by reading the mission and vision of Cherry Minds.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
let's do that first and then I'll ask the question.
No, it's okay. You go for it, and then that's how we end the open house.
Right. Okay, so I mean, I'm just uh thinking a bit ahead of myself here. So basic, I mean, maybe I'm jumping the gun, but the thing is, after you achieve the state of mindfulness, okay, after that happens, like after 24 hours में आप mindfulness कर रहे हो, उसके बाद um, I can only imagine that the entire world and your relationship with yourself is going to be completely different. So for me, who judges a lot of people a lot of times and like judges herself as well, for me not judging myself is like out of this world. तो वो स्टेट में सबसे like sometimes कभी कभी like I have been in that state in which I'm just enjoying and having fun and I'm not thinking about anything and like I'm not judging myself. तो कभी कभी ना मुझे लगता है कि मैं this is too much and मैं पागल हो रही हूँ, and this is I have to like hold myself back. Maybe it is because the way we have been brought up or the way we have been always been कि नहीं अभी तो काम करना है, ये करना है, वो करना है. So is that the state where what you achieve when you are completely mindful, or what is it like? What kind of, I mean, will I be thinking that because when जब मैं flow में होती हूँ and जब होती हूँ तो उसके बाद है ना बहुत खतरनाक वाला गिल्ट आता है कि काम नहीं किया, ये नहीं हुआ, वो नहीं हुआ, मजे तो आ गए तब बट फिर हुआ नहीं. तो फिर हाउ डज इट वर्क, लाइक 24 आवर फुल 24 आवर्स में मैं ऐसे मजे ले रही हूँ तो क्या होगा फिर बाद में? तो I don't know. I don't know, like
So
I
आई
don't
थिंक
there's a
पॉइंट ही वही है ना कि बाकी सब चीजें करने के टाइम में तुमको मजे ही आए, यू आर नॉट थिंकिंग समथिंग एल्स.
see being mindfulness is it's really I like in terms of psychotherapy maybe मुझे अच्छा लगता है is because it's very realistic in that sense. एक suffering ना human का part है. It's part and parcel of survival, like, and I think what you're doing is way more than survival because it literally requires some coping skills, I do understand that one. So understand yourself in a context. You're not in a normal context or situation. Your stressors are supposedly much higher than probably somebody else's are, you see. So the normal coping, if you would have been in a normal situation context ke basis mein, so you might have coped with given amount of coping, but abhi you're not able to cope because the stressors are increased. Now what mindfulness does is it brings about just an awareness as to what is happening to you in context of what is going on. So in context of my studies, what are the things I'm going through? So just bringing about that awareness in the first place will eventually help you at least survive. So mindfulness is more like a cognitive skill in survival sense. So for example, if you're studying for so many hours or if you're doing so many papers, तो एक ना क्या कहते हैं एक creative block आ जाता है, right? So then there is no flow state. It's very opposite of what a flow state is. Flow state is
right.
supposed to be creatively very enhancing, वो वाली चीज़ है. But because there's so much stimuli, you फील कि अभी क्रिएटिव ब्लॉक आ गया. अब उस क्रिएटिव ब्लॉक को रिजॉल्व करने के लिए यू विल हैव टू चूज टू टेक टाइम ऑफ फॉर योर लेटर कॉग्निटिव स्किल्स टू बी बेटर. बट वो जो चॉइस है इट कम्स एट अ कॉस्ट बाय deconditioning my primitive or older part of my brain. So that's where neuroplasticity comes in, कि you'll have to make that conscious choice of every time choosing to take a break, take self-care in that sense, ताकि मैं
Right.
अपना ऑप्टिमम यूटिलाइजेशन कर सकूँ रिसोर्सेज का. सो माइंडफुलनेस विल हेल्प यू इन दैट सेंस. इट विल नॉट हेल्प यू बी हैप्पी. It's not about being happy. Your dopamine is bad for the brain all the time. You cannot be happy.
But
You
then
see?
if you make the right choice, you will be happy. मतलब अगर तेरे पास choice हो कि to be guilty or not be guilty, of course not being guilty will make you happier, right? But that
Right.
having that choice is what mindfulness empowers you to do.
Right, right, right.
Cool.
So it's like a sweet space, um, um, that helps you choose yourself.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. That's correct. Cool then. I hope we answered some of your questions.
Super, super awesome.
ठीक है.
All right. Okay, then I will share my screen.
Yeah, let's just quickly talk about what we are all about and what we do.
Yep. One second. Yeah. Can you see the screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So, as we all know, and this is for our viewers if they are joining in now, that our mission is to help 1 lakh Indians, young Indians, to get into a healthy relationship with their own mind. And which is why we are having this conversation so that anyone can join in and, you know, take the next step. The mission at CherryMinds is that we'll help Indian millennials and Gen Z train their brains, attention muscle, and stay in flow with their present moment, which is exactly what we were just talking about. And we envision to help them overcome the trauma of their past life and anxiety of their future. What we do here is that we help you learn the cognitive skill of mindful awareness via formal meditation and other mindfulness activities. We also help you integrate this skill in your daily life to experience significant positive change. So, what lies in the future, what we look at, what is our vision for the future is that upon enabling this habit amongst all of you, we want this skill of mindful awareness and mind fitness. After this, we want you guys to induce significant personality change and lifestyle change. And we do this by various values that we have. And I'm not sure if we have talked about our values before, but this time we just want to talk about these points. Number one, we are very focused on client result. We work relentlessly with you to get that positive change. We are obviously very empathetic, open minded, and we have all the health experts here who non-judgmentally talk to you and help you, overcome your problems. And here we also promote consistency because this is a habit building exercise. So you'll have to, be consistent and every day push yourself a little, and we'll also help you in that so that you can, keep on building this habit every day. And we are scientific. We take extreme ownership in what we are doing. We talk to you closely. We, inquire about your situation, what you are facing, and we have completely a very anonymous, trust building and safe space for everybody here. So there's no need to be, anxious about the fact that, how will I share whatever I'm feeling. So it's a totally safe environment. So yeah, I think that's about it.
Thank you, Ajay.
Welcome. And I think we should now end the open house. We also, I think next time,
Sure,
let's invite more people and expand this conversation.
sure, guys. I
And
hope you
our
had a good time.
community as well.
Yes, our community as well.
ठीक है. Nice talking to you all.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you.
Take care,
Bye
guys.
bye.
Bye. Bye. Take care.